Good morning.
Good morning. How are
Hi.
you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. So nice
That's
to meet
good.
you.
It's good to
Thanks.
meet you too. I have to tell you, I'm at home in the virtual office, and of course, this is the day that we have a little leak in the roof, and the roofer decides to come to do his pounding during our interview. So I'll apologize up front. But hopefully
Isn't
every
that how it goes,
Yes, and I
though?
was like,
Right?
I've been on vacation all week. Nobody's been here. Perfect time to do whatever. And now this morning they're like the roofers, but hopefully he will be quiet and we won't have a lot of interruption. But I'm Lawana Brown, and I'm a program director for the Women's Health Nurse Practitioner online track for Regis. So this is exciting for me because you're a WHMP too. So I love that. I love that. I think that's so wonderful. And you will find as we talk that I've discovered we have a lot in common, including being early. Because I was like, "Ooh, Andrew, she's coming on early." She's like me. I'm an early bird too. I like to get to
Oh,
everything.
I'm definitely an early bird in all which way, shapes of the form. Like I like to be up early. I like to get things done early. So it's really
Exactly.
good.
Yes. I love that. So tell me a little bit, I'm always, whenever I meet nurses, I always want to know why nursing? What brought you to nursing, and what was your path like, coming to nursing? So tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, that is such a great question. So when I was 16 years old and we were all coming of age, we didn't have any women's healthcare services in our area. So we didn't like have a Planned Parenthood or a clinic dedicated to that. So, and I'm going to totally age myself, which is pretty funny, but we would pile in my friend's Camaro and
Mhm.
we would drive 2.5 hours through one of the top 10 most deadliest canyons to get to Planned Parenthood to get some birth control.
Wow.
And I met a women's health nurse practitioner there. And she told me everything that she did. And I distinctly remember piling back into that Camaro, and I was sitting in the back on the hump and leaning forward and saying, one day I'm going to start my own women's health clinic so girls don't need to drive all this way to get it. This is what I'm going to do. And so from that point on, I'm like, hey, how do I do this? This is nursing. I think I was born a nurse anyways,
Mhm.
because um, growing up, I was always that caregiver, that support person. If there was a sick animal or a laboring animal or parent or grandparent or just anything, my dad always would say, come go with me. Let's do this. And so anyways, that's how I decided that this is what I wanted to do. Now there was lots of like bumps in the roads and
Yes.
corners and wrong directions and everything else, because at one point I couldn't decide if I wanted to be a teacher or a nurse practitioner. So when I first went to college, I got a scholarship for teaching, and I went into it and I'm like, whoa, this is just too boring. I can do this with nursing. So it was a
There you go.
natural connection. So I was the first person to go to college in my family. And when I told them, hey, I'm going to go be a nurse, they were like, okay, honey, whatever you want to do, because I wasn't the best student in high school. I was definitely a social butterfly, but I like ACTs and all of those things I did excellent on.
Right.
So I went to our local junior college here, and
Mhm.
I got my LPN and RN, and then I moved about an hour away, and they were offering a BSN to a program, and we met once a week, and I got my BSN. And then I went forward because all in the back of my mind, I wanted to be this women's health nurse practitioner.
Right.
So,
Right.
and then I went through the University of Utah Women's Health Nurse Practitioner program and got my master's degree. And then after the Future of Nursing 2010 report came out, I'm like, ooh, I'm getting my doctorate. So that's how that all came about.
Wow, that's amazing. And it's funny because I did this, I started in this in my local technical college,
Yep.
and I got my associate's degree in nursing, and then went on, did a BSN, and then did the master's. Now I'm in that holding space between master's and doctorate. So So I'm going to move forward. I'm just kind of in that little spot where I, haven't taken that, but I am going to move forward to doctorate at some point. But that's amazing. And actually, our backgrounds are similar too, because you are from Carbon County, which has about 20,000 folks. I'm from Lee County, South Carolina, and 17,000 people. So really small, very rural, and lots of challenges, with healthcare, I'm sure. So, I got a chance to look at your practice website for Eastern Utah Women's Health. It is so amazing. I'm looking and I'm just thinking that, it's clear that the people in the area really love what you do. And it's also clear that you love what you do. Even from the page, I can feel the energy of it. So that's great. So tell me a little bit about the population that you serve there, and some of the challenges maybe you've had. I've read a little bit on the actual county that there's a lot of diversity there as far as the population. So tell me a little bit about that.
So our county was actually settled with 54 different nationalities.
Ooh.
So what happened is they would wait on Ellis Island for all the immigrants to come and say, hey, we could take you to these coal camps. You can make lots of money. So that's like the true backstory behind it. So we were like this melting pot, and being in Utah, that that's not quite a melting pot. So we were fortunate to have all of these different people come together to build this community. Unfortunately, there's a lot of disparities in the community because in the coal mining industry and the railroad industry and all of those types of things, the economy is always up and down. So when the rest of the United States is having a boom, we're having a decline. Wow. And so it's very volatile economically and for the people living there, because they'll be working one day and the next day they'll be laid off. Wow. And so if we're looking at insurance, and that is directly tied to working, we have a lot of women who fall off the charts because either their partners lost their insurance or they're working 2 and 3 low-paying jobs who they cannot afford insurance. So that's kind of that population. We're diverse, but we're on the lower socioeconomic class. We have the highest people who qualify for Medicaid. So Medicaid expansion was super helpful in making sure that people were able to access care. And then also, we have a lot of substance use disorders. We are #1 in the state of Utah, #4 in the nation for our substance use disorder issues that we're working on as a community all together. And so does that answer your question?
Yeah, it definitely, it definitely does. And, you touched on the Medicaid. I know that you were very instrumental in getting Utah's Medicaid policy to allow for 100% reimbursement for nurse practitioners. So was that difficult to convince folks? How hard was it? And I'm asking that because, I'm sitting in a state that hasn't been able to do that, like a lot of other nurse practitioners. So tell me a little more about that.
So what had happened is the nurse practitioners had tried for 17 years to get this. So this was not a new thing. 17 years they've been working on it. And what I think happened is it was just a perfect storm. So if we're using like a theory, I would say Kingdon's theory of agenda setting, it was definitely an open window that we were able to go through. So what was going on at the time was, is the Affordable Care Act went into play. And then we were going to have all of these people who needed insurance who didn't have providers to care for them. I had came back and started my practice, and we have 58% Medicaid recipients in our area who is caring for them, and there's nobody doing women's health in that area. So so that's what was the catalyst for it. So somebody told me, when you knock on a door, make sure you have everybody behind you to go through it with you. So I really depended on the Utah Action Coalition for Health. It's part of the Future of Nursing Campaign for Action's Action Coalition. So that is a group of nurse leaders and people who really want to change health for our citizens. So they were instrumental. I also had a person who was a Robert Wood Johnson nurse leader. She went through all of the training and she understood how it all worked with Medicaid. So she mentored me. And then it was a ton of networking. So I had just moved back to town. I hadn't met with my senator nor my representative. I didn't even know who they were. So cold call, hey, Senator Hinkins. Hi, this is Danielle. I'm a constituent. He goes, you know, when you lived here before, you took care of my wife and she absolutely loved you. I will come to your office. So we sat down and talked about it. And then he was a champion behind it. And then also all of the data, all of the questions that the policymakers had, I made sure I was in constant contact, giving them anything. So at the final stage, when we walked through the final door after the Medicaid committee met and we testified and all of that, when we walked in as a group, the policymaker who was responsible for the decision change said, Danielle's already giving me everything I needed. Let's move forward. And we just gave him the language. What had happened though is they were like, oh yeah, he was like, oh, this is great. We'll pay you 75%. And I was like, oh no, no, we're not doing that. So we had to set up another meeting and we talked about it. I'm like, you're going to have all of these different ways in which you're monitoring providers, nurse practitioners, because this was before like the quality care stuff, like who's doing the work, who's getting the credit for it. So he's like, you're right. Let's just level the playing field. And so we did it. And it took a couple years to do, lots of relationships. And the good news is I still have those relationships and we've worked on other things moving forward. So
well, that's amazing. And I like how you described how that came together, because as we teach nursing students, you know, at Regis, we put out about 600 nursing students a year that go into the field. One of the things that always concerns me is how much we know about policy and how to reform policy, you know, because even myself, having been in the profession for 15 years, still there's a little gaps, you know, that we don't know about with policy, the Nurse Practice Act. So hearing you talk about mentoring and having other nurses that, you know, are involved in change, being able to mentor others to bring them in, that is really something good, because I have a colleague that's working on some similar legislation. We just had some changes passed here that have helped us out a lot, but we still have a long ways to go. So that makes me think about mentoring. So that's something we need to,
yeah. And on that note is I was adamant, I am not doing anything with policy. I do not want to have anything whatsoever to do with it. Like, I'm not equipped. I don't understand it.
Me too.
It really is, we understand our profession. We understand what we need. We have all of those transferable skills. I mean, as nurses, we go in and we're diagnosing and assessing and coming up with a plan and going through it all. So I would tell anybody who is hesitant, like I was, you already are equipped.
Well, that's a great way. I mean, and that makes me feel better too, because I know there are changes that need to come. So I'll move forward knowing that, and certainly encourage our nursing students to do the same. Let's, you know, any conversation we have around health now, we have to talk about COVID. And, you know, COVID, we know what it looks like on the world scene. We know what it looks like on the national scene. But what does COVID look like, and what has the story been for you as a provider in Carbon County, Utah?
Sure. So we're rural, and we used to be a little Democratic area in the state. Since the war on coal came, because we are a coal community, everybody has turned to Republican. And I hate to talk politics in something with health, but that is the reality behind what's going on. So COVID in our community is riddled with misinformation. People get their information off of Facebook, and it's turned into this big political mess. They're trying to control our lives. All of this madness. My most favorite quote, though, is, it's my body, my choice. And I'm like, wait, you can't take that from us. We've been saying that forever. But so what it actually looks like in our community is people won't get vaccinated. People will not wear masks. The state of Utah actually passed legislation last year that it's against the law to require a mask mandate. So now I'm very grateful my son is 12 because he's already vaccinated, but
Right.
I'm sending him into middle school where nobody is wearing masks and we know that they're not vaccinated.
Hmm.
And so
That
here we
makes it
are.
difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
And
as a provider, when I'm talking one-on-one with people, they are, there's the people that said, yes, I got it as soon as I could get it. And I would
mhm.
say that is about 30% of the population that I share.
Okay.
Um, and then there's the ones that I'm not getting it. The government's not telling me what to do. I, it came too soon. We need more research. I'll wait till it gets FDA approved. I'm never
Right.
going to get it. I'm not at
Right.
risk. So
Hmm.
I'm hearing all of those things. And now that the Delta variant's out, my favorite excuse is, well, we'll just wait because now they have to come up with another vaccine. And I'm
Hmm.
like, but that's not how it works. Now another variant will come and we'll need
Hmm.
something else.
Exactly.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
it's been very difficult.
Difficult. And the thing about rural communities, I'm sure you'll see this too, is that the good thing is that they're what I call cohesive communities.
Mm-hmm.
So being that they're cohesive, it's good when it comes to, crises, things that happen, neighbors, things that go on in the way of disasters, everybody comes together and it's good to have that small community. But what also happens is that when you get the misinformation, it spreads even more rapidly in those types of communities, and so it kind of breeds this distrust that's there, and then all of a sudden you have a very difficult problem being able to get folks to do that. um, we've had similar issues here, in South Carolina with the mask mandate and different things like that. So as you're working with your patients, are you finding anything that's particularly helpful, or are you just, pretty much telling your staff to mask up and kind of, just deal one-on-one? How is that looking for you? And also tell me a little bit about hospital situation there, because I know if your county is like mine, the actual county that I grew up in doesn't even have a hospital. The nearest hospital is about 20 miles away in Sumter County. And there's one in Hartsville that's, in Darlington County, it's about 10, but there's nothing in the immediate county that they can even, that's even a hospital.
So we actually have a critical access hospital, and I not only cover Carbon County, I cover Emory and Grand counties as well.
Wow.
So it's like 300 miles.
Oh, wow.
Um, So that critical access hospital, we're completely full. We can't take anybody. We're trying to ship. Everybody is already there. So
Mhm.
they're just sending people home on oxygen and steroids saying, hope you get
Wow.
better. And then if
Yeah.
anything comes like a heart attack or anything like that, we try to divert, which is an hour away,
Wow.
and nobody's taking people because we don't have any room. So
Mhm.
that's what's going on in the hospital situation. Our nurses are exhausted.
Yes.
They are tired. They are worked to death right now,
Mhm.
literally.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
but it's also very interesting that some of the nurses are still choosing not to get vaccinated. And I'm like,
Yeah.
how are you a nurse and not able to understand the science behind it? So it's disheartening
Yeah,
when I hear that.
there's a lot of fear, and we have that as well here. And I was talking with a nurse last week, Teresa Brown, and we talked about something called moral injury that a lot of nurses are experiencing. Where in the beginning it was this big celebration of healthcare heroes, and everybody was blowing the horns and waving and doing all these things. And now it's actually come to the point where people will say you're a hero, but then you got in the community where you've left taking care of these critically ill patients, and you walk into a grocery store and nobody has a mask on. So it just feels like that it's there's something that they're not going to be able to win just because of that. But yeah, exhaustion. I mean, having worked the most, I've worked 7 12-hour night shifts in a row, and that was just, and this was labor and delivery, not even critically somebody, I mean, this was just birth and babies. And I mean, there's a lot to that, but it wasn't the same as what we're talking about with ventilator assisted patients. So a different level of care, and such a great price that we're going to pay even with healthcare providers and with nurses.
But I've experienced it as a healthcare provider who is not necessarily on the front lines, because you brought up about the community. Like, we're such a close knit community. Why would you not take care of your community?
Wow.
And it's like, and I know this sounds really weird, but I like my patients to get on Google and Google their symptoms and
Mhm.
come in so we can have a conversation so I can dispel myths. And I mean,
Right.
this is with anything, with endometriosis, fibroids,
Mhm.
you name it. So I encourage that. I think knowledge is a good thing. But
Mhm.
when it comes to COVID,
Right.
I'm obsolete. They've
Yeah.
already found their knowledge from whatever source they would like to source it, mostly Facebook, and
Mhm.
then I'm not needed.
Right.
And that's kind of a hard place to be. And then when it comes to our clinic, so we are doing telehealth.
I was
And
going to ask you about that.
yes, we're doing a lot of telehealth, but then we also have days in which our patients come in for like their pap smears and things like that. It's desynchronized. But we have a mask mandate in my office, and people still come in complaining. Like, I'm not going to wear this. I quit my job because they asked me to wear a mask and all this stuff. And I'm just like, okay, so there's a lot of hostility. And so,
Right.
what I've trained my staff to say is, we understand where you're coming from. We will get you in and out. This should take no longer than 15 minutes because we've already had the conversation via telehealth. So if
Mhm.
you can just hang in there for 15 minutes, we'll get you
Mhm.
in and out. But
Right.
still, it's a lot of hostility to my staff that we're not used to hostile patients. We're used to, oh, come
Yeah.
here. Like, you want to get pregnant? You don't want to get pregnant. You're going to college. Like, it's just a whole different ball game
Yeah.
in in that sense.
Mhm. And
So
that's something you don't think about. I work in a college health clinic, and so my population is a little bit different. I've worked in the health department before, public health department, but my population of students, they're pretty much at the point where they know that in order for us to be able to stay open and not have a chopped up semester like we had last year, they need to wear the mask. So they're willing to do whatever because they don't want to have to be in quarantine or get sent home or do all the things we did last year with college because that robbed them of the college experience. So I
right.
think that their mindset has pretty much shifted to we're going to wear these masks because we want to be able to go to the games. We want to be able to do the things, but that's not necessarily the same in the community. And there is, a political side to all of it. So it's really become quite confusing and quite muddied. And how would you say it's affected even we talked about the disparities that have gone on, otherwise, would you say that there are certain groups because they were already disenfranchised that are even being affected more so with COVID, with all this going on?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because many of our citizens work paycheck to paycheck, right?
Right.
And it is one paycheck and you are back down in poverty. Everybody is living on the fringes or
Mhm.
within that poverty level. So to
Mhm.
be off work for 2 weeks because you have COVID, because you are so ill, and then
Mhm.
them not thinking, what about long-term COVID, long haul COVID?
Right.
I've been seeing so much of that. People can't go to their physical jobs anymore. Their bodies hurt. Um, they can't do the actual labor that they used to
Exactly.
do. And so we're not thinking of all of that. And so it really is deepening those disparities, deepening that socioeconomic divide, deepening all of that for our whole community. And we
Mhm.
know we're only as healthy and we're only as economically successful as our most disenfranchised citizens. And
Yes.
so we keep perpetuating that. Many people aren't going to hold your job for you for 2 weeks because you've had COVID,
You're
or
exactly
if you
right.
infected the whole uh like fast food place,
Mhm.
what are you going to do there?
Yes. Yes. You're
So it's
exactly right.
definitely deepened that.
Yes, it has. And it's made it even more challenging. And like you said, there were a lot of cracks that were already there in the foundation of healthcare, and they're beginning to be much more widened, in that way. I also noticed in looking that you've done a lot of public speaking. There were quite a few different topics. I know you spoke on one thing called Sex in the Dark. I'm like, I needed to be there for that. That sounds like a perfect women's health,
Oh
women's
my
health.
gosh, it is so fun. So
Yeah.
fun. So what we do, so I'm student health services at our college as well.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay.
like yeah, because nobody else really is doing it. So
Right.
we have a peer navigator program, a peer-to-peer education program. And so Sex in the Dark is just where all of the college students can either write out or send us in questions. And then everybody comes and we wear glow sticks and everything's in the dark.
Ah,
And then we get up and answer their questions. We also do STI testing on the spot, and then you get tickets to where you can put in for prizes depending on if you got your results, if you asked a question, or if you left your sample, if you answered or asked a question. And so we have prizes, and it's really fun. It's our very most attended event.
Oh, wonderful. Now, listen, I might have to reach out to you with that, because with us on the college campus, there's always challenges. And we are one of the states, like I said, we have things to work on where we cannot do, there's only two, us in Kentucky, that cannot do the partner treatment for STI positives.
Oh, no.
Yes, I know. Aren't you shocked? We have been trying and we can't do it. So that complicates the issue on a college campus, you already know. And so that's one of the policy changes that I would definitely like to see come, because it would help us out a lot. But ideas like that definitely give students the opportunity to be able to talk and to be able to, get answers to questions, because there is a lot of misinformation that's out there. And now, even though there's a great side to social media, and there's a great side to, being able to learn the things that you need to, and making it more accessible to folks. But there's also, like I said, the misinformation side. And I don't necessarily want you to get, even though I've seen a lot of practitioners on TikTok that are doctors and things like that are putting out information. But for everyone that has great information, there's just somebody else that's just kind of giving you anecdotal information that might not be the best thing. And you probably know better than most that there are a lot of myths surrounding women's health and surrounding reproductive health and things of that sort that we really want to kind of dispel. So as we, kind of wrap up, one thing I want to ask, going back to the public speaking, is if you could give a speech to every nurse, you could talk to every nurse that's, working, whether it's women's health or just every nurse working now, as we move forward with nursing, what would be something that you would like for them to know, to think about, as we are in this stage that we are and trying to move forward? And even with nursing students, people who are choosing the profession at this point.
Well, geez, you caught me off guard there. I think I would like to really talk about the power that you hold as being a nurse, and how do we use that power in order to make the changes that we see in everyday life. I think that a lot of people, go, do you know what this town needs? They need blah, blah, blah. Or do you know what I think would be a great thing to add to this? And go on and on. And so I think nurses really have that power and that trust of the community to be able to go out and really make the changes that they know would be great for their communities, for their patients, for the profession, for the world at a whole. And I'm not saying that they need to do policy change, but this is coming from a person who did not want to do that and ended up doing it. I just feel like just even a talk with a senator, a talk with your representative, a talk with your city council, a talk with the people at your hospital, a talk with your public health. You really hold so much power, because you are holding people's hands. You are on the front lines. You understand so deeply about what's going on with this condition of human caring, that your voice is really the most powerful voice out there. So use it. So I think I'd like to talk with them about that, and how to cultivate it, and how to reach out to their fellow nurses, because I'm big on mentorship. I think that is the most beautiful way that we can help our profession lift up and continue to go and help our fellow nurses. So I think that would be it.
That's amazing. And we do need that, the mentorship piece, because, students coming through, they need to know that they're going to step into an environment where they'll be nurtured, particularly now, because so many are not, are maybe second guessing because of some of the things that have gone on. But to see that nurturing that's gone on, and, the camaraderie and the way that you can sit and talk and debrief things with other nurses, it's really, really just amazing, to be able to do that. And I know we've had a conversation that's centered around the things that we have going on that would be public, but I can tell you that both of us working in women's health, we could meet and we could have hours long conversation about nursing stories, things that we've gone through, and see the commonalities that stretch from Utah to South Carolina, that the healthcare, for women, there are a lot of similarities and we're dealing with a lot of similar things. But I will tell you that the work you've done is amazing. I know that there are countless women whose lives you have really changed for the better. I know you have a lot in your community that you're up against, but the fact that you have yourself and people like you that are working towards that change really makes me feel optimistic, and you all have set the pace, and you particularly with this legislation about the Medicaid policy. For us here in South Carolina, we got some catching up to do, but it's good to know that there are things out there that we can latch on to that you all have done to give us the model for the change that we need. So I appreciate you, Miss Danielle Pendergrass. I thank you so much for talking with me, and I am going to get also your email information and all from Andy, so that like on some of these other projects that I have, because you seem to be like me. When I look at your page, I'm like, you're doing one thing, but you have a million other little things in your head that you would like to do, because I'm sitting here talking, I'm like, oh yeah, we need to do this and do that. So I have like a little, I guess you would call it a cork board in my mind where I stick pins and things. And just looking at your practice, I'm like, oh yeah, she's got a lot more things she wants to do.
I do. So I look at everything as like this big picture, and a lot of people don't understand my big picture. I'm looking right now at my whiteboard and there is drawings all over it of like, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. So I love helping other people to be able to put their dreams and their ideas into work. Right. And I also like connecting to work on some ones that haven't been. So please reach out.
Yeah, we've got a South Carolina, Utah thing going here. And actually, I have a friend who is a physical therapist that does pelvic floor work that was here in South Carolina. I was a patient person and we became colleagues, and I went to get training in pelvic floor, and she actually moved to Utah. And so I get to talk to her often. She has a practice where she sees patients for pelvic floor. And so once a month, I meet with her and another group of pelvic floor, folks virtually, and we talk about patients and things of that nature. And so this is my second Utah connection. So I definitely will be reaching out. And then the student health factor, definitely.
Well, you have to connect me to this person, because
I will.
Because that's my goal for next year, is to get trained in pelvic floor. So please.
Okay. Her name is Jessica. Her name is Jessica Manley, but I will pass on her information. And she has a whole group actually of folks that, are throughout the state and country that kind of meet virtually, because this is such a new area, and that really can give you some support in that. I did just the basic training through Herman and Wallace, and I see basically just persons for like pain with sex and things like that in the college environment. So I haven't done a whole, but they have extensive training that they've done with postpartum patients and with all types of information. So that is definitely something that we will work and collaborate.
You and I, right
sounds
on that
good.
Same level.
That sounds good. See, I knew you were a sister. Well,
sure.
Thank you so much for talking with me. I will be in touch soon, and I just hope you have the most fabulous day. And hopefully next time we talk, we can have a conversation about COVID that is an aside and that talks about the advances that we've made, and we can focus back on the regular maintenance of health that we know is so important for women in general.
Agreed.
All right. Take
so
care.
Much. I enjoyed it.
All right. Bye-bye.